Welcome to Practically Tactical on Target, brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. Practically Tactical on Target is a show dedicated to sharing with you some of the best products or services in the firearms industry. Don't forget to listen to the Practically Tactical show here on the Firearms Radio Network as well. New episodes drop every Sunday. For more information on Practically Tactical and on Target, please visit practacpodcast.com. On this episode, we're talking with Andrew from Thyrm about the Switchback. So, Andrew, thanks for coming on, man.
Happy to be here.
So I'm glad you actually decided to come on, or actually came on, because way back in the day, we had Mr. Sam and Nick from Weaponcraft on the show, and
That's right.
They both carried it, both like it, and I don't think they embarrassed your product too much being on our show. So I appreciate you coming on though and talking with us.
Yeah, no, happy to be here. Yeah, Nick Smith and Sam Cummins were really kind of early adopters, and really appreciated them kind of getting the word out. And they were one of the first people to get it out in public, and we realized then that the name Thyrm doesn't exactly work for everybody. Like that was the moment where we're like, oh wow, when you say it out loud, it's a little different.
Well, and for everybody out there, go ahead and check the show notes. I have links to their website, their social media, so you guys can check it out, find some more information. But that was kind of my introduction to it, was through Sam and Nick. And then when we were in October, at the end of October, when we were down at Alliance filming, we got our hands on some Thyrms, some Switchbacks, and so we took them down. And I really want to kind of get this in front of you guys, because I have one right here on an EB. This is an EB1, if I remember correctly. And we're going to have a review for you guys coming out on it. But I want to get Andrew on to, give you guys the direct information, because not all of us product reviewers always get it right. I'm sure you've experienced that before. But we really like this. And I'll hit on some key points, but we'll do a full review. But Andrew, can you maybe give us just a little background of, how did this product come about, and how did you kind of decide to get into molding and plastics and flashlights and everything?
Yeah. So I was a competitive shooter. I was back in 2005, and I got good enough that I went to the nationals in the Smith & Wesson Indoor Nationals, to be specific, in Massachusetts. It's my first big match, and I've been practicing, and then when I got there, half the stages were low light, and so they were like, "Here's a flashlight, good luck." And it messed with me more than I ever would have thought. So suddenly I'm trying Harry's when I'm used to a modified isosceles stance. I'm trying to manage that. I'm not, the hot spot and the beams sort of distracted me from my sights, and it was humiliating. It was a complete mess. And so it kind of really got my brain going. It's like, all right, I got to fix this. That can't happen again, kind of feeling. And so messed around with some prototypes, and then basically for about 5-6 years got completely distracted by kids and family and all sorts of stuff like that. Kind of picked it up again when I was getting back into shooting, and got some prototypes together, filed a patent, started to really like the concept overall. But I knew, like, being a competitive shooter and an engineer isn't enough to sort of, launch a product. And so that was when we talked to Chris Costa. I was actually taking one of his courses, and I showed him the design, and I said, hey, would you consider working with us and kind of getting this refined and sorted out to where it'll actually work for people that are going to, use it for, their everyday carry or going in harm's way and so forth. And so, he came in, and it really was amazing. We went through probably 5, 6, 7 different iterations of prototypes. The final product looks nothing like what I brought him. And he really kind of raised the whole game for the product. And then, towards the end, when we were both happy, we slapped his logo on it, and then tried to figure. And that's when we figured out, okay, I guess we got to call this company something. And so Thyrm was born.
Okay, how did you come up with the name? Because that's going to be the first question that if we don't answer, we're going to be like, how did they come up with this name?
Yeah, it's a weird, convoluted story, but it's not too long. So basically, I always liked the name Thyrm, like a scientific theorem. So whatever that would be, THEOREM. And we started looking around. Well, how could we play around with the the lettering on that? And when we started typing in Thyrm with a Y, we started getting this Norse god, like the king of the ice giants, I guess, is this guy called Thyrm. he stole Thor's hammer, and we were like, oh, that's all badass. I like that.
Yeah.
And then so we started like, okay, this is going somewhere. And then we figured out that Thyrm, a 5-letter domain was available, and that was like, all right, we got it. It's Thyrm. And, yeah.
Well, that's that's kind of what we stumbled across so many times on this show is just shooters find a problem, or they know that there's got to be a solution to this, and they come up with it. And that's one thing that I just love about the firearms industry is we got dudes, like yourself that are just, I see a problem, I'm going to find the solution. So that's all. Kudos to you, man. That's good. And I completely understand the kids and the wife get in the way thing.
Yeah. Thanks. Set me back a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk about the specific product itself then. What type of plastic is this made of, if you don't mind me asking? Because to me, the quality of it sticks out a lot. It's not cheap feeling. I mean, for those that are out there, I mean, you guys have picked up somewhere it's like, okay, this is cheap, and then this isn't. And so the first time I grabbed it and actually held onto it with the light is if your product matches the feel quality of a Surefire. That's when I was like, okay, I know because obviously you put in the design, the work into this, and the quality with it. And that was just kind of the first thing that stuck out to me is this feels like the quality of that matches the Surefire light. So I was kind of curious about that.
Right on. Yeah, right on. Thanks. It comes from a few different places. So first of all, the materials, I think nylon 6/6, which is it's a pretty high end injection molded plastic, and it has some glass reinforcement in it. So that's why it's sort of stiffer than your standard, just straight up nylon type product. But the other thing that I think makes it feel the way it feels and all that is the quality of the tool, the injection molding tool, and that comes straight out of a company called Draco. And their name you might know because they share space with Raven Concealment, and so the Vanguard and all those products, I believe, are still made by Draco, and they've been in the business of injection molding forever. So everything's done there in Ohio, and the people that have been doing it have been building car parts and carts, from the medical industry, and they're just dialed. And and so they get the textures right, they get the colors right, they get the all the molds they're like jewels. They're just these beautiful things that all mate together and create good products. So,
yep. Yeah, that was just really the thing that stuck out to me the most. But obviously, the next big thing is the product itself. So you can tell us a little bit about how it works, how it's maybe how it's supposed to go on the light, and how it's designed to work.
Yeah, sure. So I'm tempted to grab one and hold it, but then I won't talk it through particularly well for a podcast. So I'm gonna refrain from doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you take your normal light, and it's got a tail cap and it's got a body, and you unscrew the tail cap, and that's when you slip on the switchback. So you throw the switchback on. It's got a little lip that'll sort of bottom out on the right there on the body. And then you'll throw your tail cap into the hole, if you will, on the switchback. And so when you do that, you can screw it down. There's a window kind of within the loop there you can access the tail cap from. You scrunch it all down, and you've got this really solid connection. And that was something where when we were looking at all the competitive products, there's a lot of things that are like sort of slip on, and they slip off, and they slip off and at the wrong time when you're trying to yank it out of a pouch or something. So we wanted something that was a really solid mechanical interlock type connection. So once you got it on there, the reason it's built the way it is to get that loop really close to. I mean, you can see it essentially bottoms out to the tail cap, and behind as far as it can be from the tail cap itself. And the reason for all that is that you can use it like you would a normal flashlight. So you can grab it as you would. You can activate it with your thumb, kind of that ice pick grip, with your finger through it, almost like a karambit. And then, but you can flip it over into that sort of extended switchback grip. You can put your thumb on the we call it the thumb drive, but whatever you want to call the little triangle piece on the ring. And then when you push on that, it actually will drive the tail cap into your back knuckle, and that's what creates the deploys it or switches it on. And so that whole thing was like, all right, well, let's make sure everybody can use every technique they're used to or they may want to use, because certainly what I figured out by going to the Surefire Institute going to Costa's classes and a bunch of other ones was, there's a time and place for all of these techniques. I like FBI, I like neck index, every one, and I didn't want to design a product where it's like, okay, you throw your hand into this strap system, and now you can only use it one particular way. That didn't seem like a good way to make sure everybody could do what they wanted. So we got the ring set up to where you could do Harry's and you could do everything else, but then when you flipped it, you could kind of get hopefully the best of both worlds. And what I really liked about it was when I get that switchback grip, that extended grip, I can get 90% of my regular, modified isosceles firing grip. And when I'm pushing with my thumb, I'm activating it the same way I'd activate an X300 or one of those lights. So that was sort of the commonality we were looking for too when it came to the product.
Yeah. I mean, what I really like about this light is, especially for those that buy flashlights that doesn't come with a pocket clip, is this. I should say there's. I mean, we'll back that up real quick here. So there are two different models of the switchback, correct?
That's right.
So we have there's a large version and then a small version. The large version comes with a pocket clip, and then the smaller one does not. Correct?
Yep. So you can see the pocket clip on the large one here if you're watching, but it just comes off the back side, and so it's on the same plane as the ring. And that's actually something we get a lot of questions about. Is why'd you put the pocket clip on the back there? And we originally prototyped it on this side, kind of like you would see it on a knife or something like that. And what we found was that by putting it on the back, it actually just biases the ring into your pocket. So if you're carrying it the way you carry a knife, which is sort of at the back end of your jeans pocket, your front pocket, if you're walking around with a switchback on a light and that clip is on the side, the ring starts to wing out and then it catches on door handles and it scrapes across cars, and it's a mess. So by biasing when you put it on the back of it, then it sort of biases the ring in towards your body, and it doesn't catch on as many things, but you can still get it out of your pocket when you need to.
Okay. That's the biggest thing that initially stuck out to me was this gives you the same index for grabbing your flashlight every single time. And to me, that is huge. Because so I have the EB1 here, and then I have the large version on the Surefire IntelliBeam, and I carry the IntelliBeam often, and that's the one where I can put it in my pocket, and to me the inside loop just slides right on the inside of my pocket. But when I go to grab it, I can grab it the same way every single time. I know exactly where to grab it, how to grab it. And not only that is you get a better purchase on the light from what I have found with that loop there, because you grab it, it's in your hand and you're good to go. And I also want to mention too, and I don't know if you promote this on your website or not, but if anyone's worried about water or debris, you're good to go because it freaking poured on the carbine low light class at Steve Fisher Sentinel low light class, and me and Jesse both had these on our lights because yes, Steve Fisher makes you run a handheld light and a rifle in the class, and zero issues at all. And that's actually another great way if you had to actually use a handheld light on a rifle. This little loop here, oh my god, it makes it so much nicer. I prefer the kind of the Harry's Magwell grip, but this made it so much easier because you have a lot going on running a carbine with the handheld.
Yeah.
That's another story. So basically we have it. You can grab it like a typical type of flashlight. You can basically flip it over. And is this like kind of like a modified syringe-ish kind of? Is there a name? Have you picked a name for it yet? Because I mean, you can just make a name for it.
Yeah, my marketing guy says I'm supposed to call it the switchback grip, so or the switchback technique. All right, but yeah, I mean, you're giving up a finger, so you can see if you're watching that that index finger that's in the ring is completely kind of like curled around the light, and so that one you kind of give up to you would normally have for your support hand grip on your gun, right? So you lose that, and then but you still have your other fingers to get the normal grip, and so that's really the critical part. Is I think a lot of people try to get all their fingers around the gun with the ring while having it through one of their fingers, and it just doesn't work. You got to give that finger up, and that kind of makes the whole system work. And then you can get your other fingers around. And so we got some pretty good videos out on the website that kind of speak to that a little more specifically, but it is kind of there is a modification to it. I mean, it's not as bad as like that Rogers Surefire syringe grip
Yeah,
kind of thing, which really pulls your whole hand off of it, and it typically points the light down.
down. Yep.
The whole sort of geometry of the switchback was to make sure that the light was, for the majority of people, would be pointing in the same direction as the pistol. Because I think what I realized is, especially when I was all stressed out in competition, is like having a hot spot on a light that's in a totally different place than your sights gets really just distracting. So.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And it's kind of something I picked up of just running this of running this light is, yeah, the loop itself. That it sounds, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird that just this little loop here is such a big deal, but to me it was, of just the retention, especially when it was pouring rain in the carbine class. But even a little like handgun, whether we're running a Harry's, a neat a check neck index or whatever, there's 8 million names for it, whatever method we were doing, I had just such a great grip on the light. And especially if you ever holding a flashlight and you have to do a reload, that little loop was huge. And a lot, so people that didn't have it were having to, you kind of have to maybe do the tuck and then reload and then grab your light back. And so for me and Jesse, it was just in our hand. You could even flip it out of your way if you needed to, but you still got it. And again, for those that maybe not be familiar, we're going to be giving probably a really good review if it wasn't obvious. But
right on.
But no, we really like this products. And the biggest thing to me, I mean, we carry weapon mounted lights. We advocate weapon mounted lights. We are all the lumens kind of guys here. But you should always have another flashlight as well. And this is the method. I got to work more on it. But what you kind of talked about with the switchback grip for running the handgun is, it basically mimics as if you're activating a weapon mounted light. So when I look at it as something that if my weapon mounted light went down and I'm used to kind of doing the same thing, Steve would kill me if I said muscle memory because muscles don't have memories. But to me, it gives you that very similar type of press that you're just used to of manipulating that light with your thumb. I think it's a great product, which everybody's gonna be like, well, then how much does it cost? This must be $8 million. But no, today only, right. If they order right now,
special price for your listeners. Yeah,
it's $20 for large or small. And I'm a big fan of the product, and you can get it in black or flat dark earth because they have to match, or you don't have the match to stand out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't forget urban gray because you gotta keep up with the fashion, right?
Yeah, that's right. Do you have urban gray on these?
Yep, we do. Yep.
Oh, I didn't even know that. There we go. But I think I may have talked more than you, Andrew, on here, so I apologize.
No
but
worries.
Anything that I'm missing on the switchback here?
Yeah, let me think. We talked about the main points. I mean, I think one of the things that people have told me that they really liked about it was that if they had the EB1 with, so it's got the pocket clip on the side and it's got the tail, it's a bezel down in your pocket. So that, the light's facing downwards. When they get into their car and they would, sit down, they would actually get the tail cap activating, I guess, between their hip and their leg. And by having the switchback on there, it actually creates enough of the standoff, kind of like some of the lights that have a shroud, like the Defender series, and it keeps you from having, looking down and figuring out that you've had your light on for the entire car ride. So that wasn't something that I had noticed before, but I think it's a nice advantage for people that they have that happen to them. The other thing we've seen more and more of is like canine guys, law enforcement. They'll have a hand where they're feeding the lead for the dog, and then they have another hand that actually holds the back of the leash, and they're always trying to figure out how to do a light with that situation where they're trying to release just enough of the dog, if you will, and still kind of keep everything in control. And they'll lose their flashlights because they're trying to run a lead past their flashlight. And so by having the ring on it, it was a bonus for them where they were able to kind of keep that retention and still do what they needed to do. So it's kind of neat. It's been a couple of years now, and you're just kind of seeing how everybody kind of uses it. Different people. The ring's actually been great for hooking onto a carabiner for search and rescue folks and things like that. So just neat to see it kind of propagate slowly.
Well, I think 2015 has to be the year of the lumens and the flashlights. I think
Right.
2014 had to have probably been the muzzle of brakes. 2013 was obviously ARs. This is at least how it's in my mind. Yeah, the flashlights and lumens is all the rage right now.
For sure.
In the huge debate. But no, kind of what we talked about there is, yeah, the retention aspect to me I think is what really makes this unique on the market. Obviously, there's some other ones out there, but this one's not collapsible. And so to
Yep.
me, that's the biggest difference versus this. There were some other products out there. This is not collapsible to where every time I go into my pocket, it's right there. I don't have to grab the light, then flip anything or maneuver anything. It's standard right there. And Jesse couldn't make it on the show today, but he was his biggest number one favorite thing about this is exactly what you talked about. He has an old Defender light from, I think, after he got back from Iraq, and he didn't have this on there. And yeah, he would turn his light on all the time, going through batteries left and right. And he has the switchback on it and has not been a problem at all.
Good deal.
So that was one of his favorite things, because the dude's, I think he's been pretty much just using my batteries, so it's saving me money too.
Excellent.
But I'll move to wrap it up here. So if they want to go buy this, where should they go to?
Yeah, Thyrm.com, THYRM.com is where we are at, and we sell them there. You can also get them from Milspec Monkey. You can get them from Costa Ludus Gear, and there's a few other online dealers out there, but those are the ones typically have it, so you can go there.
Okay. Well, Andrew, thank you for coming on and sharing your story and talking about this. Again, I'm a pretty big fan of it, and obviously we're a big fan of flashlights here in general. So we'll take this back here, because I know one thing people are going to ask of what flashlights does this fit, and which ones doesn't it fit?
That's key. Yeah. So for the EB1, which is the small size, that Surefire backup EB1 and EB2, these are the lights with the progressive tactical switch. So when you push it, you get 15 lumens. You keep pushing more, you get 200, and then when you let your finger off, it stops. No click. Those it works with. The ones that actually click, regardless of if it has a shroud or not, doesn't work. They're a little bit larger in diameter, and when you unscrew them just enough to get the product on, it doesn't actually hook up all the circuitry. So use it with the tactical momentary switch. Don't use it with the click switch. So that's we try to make that really clear on our website, but sometimes it gets lost. So that's for the backup. For the large one, it works with about 90% of Surefire's 1-inch lights, and that goes all the way back to like the incandescents and the 6Ps and things like that. Every once in a while, they deviated a little, and like there's a G3 I think that's out there that's a little bit bigger and doesn't work. But pretty much everything. And if you go on our website and you go to the actual product page, we've got them all listed out. So if we found one that doesn't work, we throw it up there, and we also have a list of all the ones we've tested, which is pretty extensive.
Okay. Well, the second email that I would get would be, what about non-Surefire lights? Can this work with non-Surefire lights?
Yeah, luckily, because it wasn't. I have to admit, it wasn't something we were going after. We picked our favorite lights, between Costa and I, and then really built it for those. But there are quite a few night cores. There's a Pelican, at least one Streamlight, I think. But again, that's all on our website. Claris, a couple others, but they're all listed. If we've tested them, we put them up there, whether it was good or bad. And we ask, if other people test them, please let us know, especially if you have one that works, and we'll post it up so people know.
Okay, excellent. Well, Andrew, I'm going to move to wrap it up here. Thank you for coming on and sharing this information with us. And again, we'll be posting a full review on the Switchback. But any last words? Anything else? If they got any questions, go to the website.
Yeah, come to our website if you have questions. Email us if you need to. It's pretty easy to find contact info on our site. I would say, this is a product. It might work for you. It might not. We've set up our return policies and everything to make it an easy one to experiment with. So, we all kind of have to, find our way, whether it's knives, flashlights, or whatnot. So give it a shot if you feel like it. We won't make you regret it either way.
Well, it's $20, guys. I would say give it a shot. You might, again, really, really like me, especially if you get out and train and get out, especially in low lights or a heavy weapons manipulation class with a light. You're going to thank me for the $20 well spent. Even if you don't do the special grips or anything, just running a regular flashlight with the loop, I think it's going to be $20 well spent. But so thank you to Andrew from Thyrm for joining us today. I really appreciate it. For all the listeners out there, if you know another great company that should be featured on Practically Tactical on Target, email me at nick@firearmsradio.tv with your suggestions. So until next time, guys, take care.